Welcome into Chicago Bears Now Live. I am Harrison Graham. We're live a little bit earlier today, thanks to everybody who was waiting in the live chat. The reason we are live 20 minutes earlier than normal is, well, some guys named Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are holding a press conference today. Pace will be at 3 o'clock Central Time, Nagy at 4 o'clock Central. We're going to air both of those press conferences right here on today's live show. And we'll sprinkle in some other stuff as well, so including live Q&A, so use hashtag Bears for that. But different kind of show. We'll react to the press conferences. It'll be a whole lot of fun. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get the comments flowing, let the audience build up a little bit, and then in about 5 or 6 minutes, I'll take a look at some quarterbacks the Bears could trade for. Shout out your city. Go ahead and light up the live chat right now. We'll get some shout-outs flowing as well. Already got 340 people watching. I got producer Brett to my right. We're excited about today's show. By the way, answer the poll. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace. Who do you trust more? Go ahead and answer that one. Nagy winning in a blowout right now. We'll get some shout-outs on the question on screen here. Let's see. Chicago from Sports Videos. Syracuse from Big Play Slay, our most loyal watcher here at Chat Sports. Ethan says Oswego. Giovanni says Chicago. Pennsylvania from Jonah. Chicago, we got a lot of Chicagos. Ghostly Chino, Rochester, New York, Tennessee, shout out from the ATL. What's up, Eric? Amsterdam from Spurs, Charlotte, North Carolina. We're already getting some hashtag Bears questions. We'll get to your questions later on in the show. We'll see how long the press conferences last, but we will answer them. Let's see here. Peoria, Illinois, Fort Worth, Texas. Go Frogs, baby. Let's see. Chicago, California, Austin, Livermore, California. We got guys all over the place. Appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and shout out your city. Also, since they're both going to have press conferences today, by the way, shout out to the Bears for splitting up Nagy and Pace's press conferences. Type MN for Matt Nagy, RP for Ryan Pace. Who do you trust more? This is the poll question in the live chat as well, so type your answers, but also just answer on the poll. 79% trust Matt Nagy more than Ryan Pace. I agree with you. I trust Nagy more. If nothing else, just go look at his 2017 quarterback evaluations compared to Ryan Pace, and that should be all you need to know on that front. Type MN for Nagy, RP for Pace. Teletron says Pace. Giovanni says Nagy. Oma says Nagy. Let's see. Best broadcast on YouTube. Showing love from Chicago. I appreciate that, Earl. Bear down from Jack. We got none from Noah. You could type just N for neither or 0. Let's see. Alex says Matt Nagy. Josh says Matt Nagy. Marcus says neither. Jesus says Matt Nagy. I've only seen the one Ryan Pace. Oh, here's another one. Dr. Sam 74, big Ryan Pace guy. Manchester, England, getting some shout-outs on the city still. Luffy Smith, guys, you got to move on. Let's see. Taki says Matt Nagy. Unforgiven says Matt Nagy. Jacob says Matt Nagy. Nagy, we got so many Nagys in here. I'm with you guys. Like, both have made mistakes, and both probably at least had an argument to be fired after this past year, but I do think Matt Nagy at least deserved one more year. He's made the playoffs in 2 out of 3 years. Ryan Pace, you guys know how I feel about him. I think he probably should have been cut loose. Pick a quarterback. That's been the talking point over the last 2 months. Russell Wilson, or really even like 6 months, dating back to the season. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, who would you rather trade for or rather have, period, if you are the Chicago Bears? I'd rather have Deshaun. He's younger. I think they're in a similar tier at this point in their career. Maybe you could argue Russell's a little better, but I think you could argue Watson's a little better, and the 7-year age gap is a big factor there. But I would love to have either of these guys. Don't get me wrong. RW for Russell Wilson, DW for Deshaun Watson. Let me know which quarterback you would rather have, because coming up in a couple minutes here, we'll take a look at 6 quarterbacks the Bears could trade for, and we'll rank them in order of who I want, from 6 all the way down to 1. Let's see here. Pete says Russell Wilson. Deshaun from Jonathan. We got clips with Deshaun. Russell from Giovanni. I'd say it's like 65-70% Deshaun, but there are a good amount of Russell Wilsons in there too. Joaquin says Deshaun Watson. Braden says Russell Wilson. Good mix in there. Hey, does it really matter? You get one of these two guys, you are in business if you are the Chicago Bears. Speaking of quarterbacks, coming up on Chicago Bears Now, we'll take a look at some quarterback trade targets here in just a second, but also, as I scratch my ear here, use hashtag Bears. We'll have a couple of live Q&As, so stay tuned for that. You send in your questions. I answer them. Also, you can super chat to jump the line. Pace press conference, Nagy press conference. Pace will be at 3 o'clock Central, Nagy at 4 o'clock Central. And then at the end of the show, we will react to both those press conferences, kind of just combine it into one, and I'll have my biggest takeaways on that front. But coming up first, quarterback trade targets for the Chicago Bears. You're watching Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. You can give me a follow on Twitter at HGrahamNFL for more Bears, NFL updates, all that stuff. I do it all on Twitter. Okay, let's take a look at 6 quarterbacks the Bears could trade for, and we'll rank these based on who I want. So number 1 will be the guy I want the most. Number 6, Marcus Mariota, and I'm not very interested, but I'll include him in there because the Raiders have been trying to shop him around. I know the Patriots reportedly had shown some interest. Maybe a couple of other teams could make some sense. Served as Derek Carr's backup in 2020. The problem is his contract for next year, if you trade for him, $10.6 million. That's a lot for a guy who was a backup last year. You guys thought Foles' contract was bad. Mariota's is bad as well. And he could get incentives of up to almost $20 million if he's the starter. So that's quite a bit of money. Raiders obviously would like to trade him. I just don't think it makes a ton of sense for the Chicago Bears, because is Marcus Mariota really an upgrade from like a Mitchell Trubisky? To me, they're kind of the same, and Trubisky doesn't have the injury problem, so I'm pretty much out on Marcus Mariota. Now, if he gets cut and you want to sign him for cheap, that's a different story. I would consider that. Now, that would still be a fallback option, but I'm definitely not trading for Marcus Mariota. I wanted to include him here because I've been asked about him a few times. He's just very low on my list, but he's a quarterback that is available via trade, so I did want to include him, but that's why I have him at number 6. Name a quarterback the Bears should trade for. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's show, so go ahead. If you get hit with the ad break, you can scroll on down and answer this question. Who should the Bears trade for at quarterback? Couple names I just wanted to include. They didn't crack my list because I just think they're really big long shots because I don't think they're really available. Derek Carr. I think he's the Raiders quarterback next year. Unless they think they can get Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, they're not trading him, and I don't really think they're looking to do that. Matt Ryan, same deal. It seems like at this point Arthur Smith is going to at least run it back in his first year in Atlanta. Even if they draft a quarterback, they'll probably roll with Matt Ryan in 2021. Jalen Hurts. If the Eagles draft a quarterback at 6, maybe he becomes available, but that's down the road, so you can't really wait for that. That's why I include him on this long shot trade targets. Get subscribed to Chicago Bears Now because we're going to keep you guys up to date on the latest trade rumors, especially around quarterbacks, news, other rumors, more videos, weekly mailbags, and a whole lot more. Get subscribed to the channel. It's youtube.com/BearsNow. Just hit that big red button and subscribe. Okay, how about Jimmy Garoppolo? I went back and forth between number 4 and number 5. I settled on Jimmy G at 5 because of 2 things. Number 1, the injuries are a concern at this point. Only played in 6 games last year, had injuries prior to this season as well. Now, if you told me, hey, you're going to get a replicate of 2019 Jimmy Garoppolo, 2-to-1 TD interception ratio, 4,000 yards, high completion percentage, good decision maker for the most part, I would sign up for that. But I don't know if I'm getting that level of play, and I don't know if I'm getting healthy Jimmy Garoppolo. Plus, that's a pretty quarterback-friendly system they got going in San Francisco where they like to run the ball a lot. Now, Chicago wants to do that as well, and if the O-line improves, that could be a similar case. But you factor in the cap as well of over $24 million in 2021. That's a lot of money for a guy who's been banged up in the National Football League, really throughout his career, especially since he's been playing for both the Patriots and the 49ers. So here's my trade idea on this one. Jimmy Garoppolo to the Bears for a third-round pick. Very simple. I don't think I'm giving up a first. I'm probably not giving up a second either. Maybe you could talk me into a number 2, but that cap hit of $24 million, even after you trade for him, is quite a bit of money. Now you can cut him after a year for a very limited penalty, but that's still a lot of money for a player who's been banged up quite a bit. Here's to see what you guys think. Would you trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let's hear it from you guys in the comment section. Probably leaning no, but I do think he would still be an upgrade from what you have, so you could talk me into it. At number 4, I'm going to go Sam Darnold here. Now, if Jimmy G and Sam Darnold, if all things were equal and if I didn't have to worry about the finances and the injuries, I'd probably go Garoppolo. But that's not the case here. Sam Darnold is on a rookie contract, and I don't think he's going to cost that much in a trade either. Maybe their trade value is similar there, but there's more projection here. Maybe Darnold in a new system kind of becomes that guy we thought he could be coming out of USC. Obviously, he struggled last year, and he's been up and down in his career with the Jets. It's a little riskier than Jimmy G, but he doesn't have as bad of an injury history, although there is a little bit with Sam Darnold. And 2, you're getting a younger and cheaper guy. That's mainly why I have him at number 4 ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo, because there's just less financial risk involved here. So I settle on Darnold at 4. I think he might be the most realistic guy out there because the Jets are probably going to draft a quarterback at number 2 overall, which once they decide they're going to do that, they'll make Darnold available. I think he's a realistic target. Would I be fired up? Not really, but he's worth taking a chance on at the right price. So, simple trade here, Darnold for a second. You know, young guy, if it works out, that's a home run trade. If it doesn't, yeah, you lost a second, but it's not the end of the world, and you probably got a new coaching regime next year anyway. So, second-round pick for Darnold, that's where I settle on with this quarterback. Now pick one, because I went back and forth. If all things are equal, I'm typing JG, but you factor in everything, the finances, the injuries, the age. I'm going to go Sam Darnold. I'm typing SD on this one. Type JG if you would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo. I think you could really go either way for these quarterbacks. Something that's a home run is the St. Patty's Day gear, Chicago Bears style at chatsports.com/BearsGreen. St. Patty's Day is almost here, and you got a chance to get your gear right there. I love this black long sleeve right here, my favorite of the crop. But there's a lot of different options, shirts, long sleeves. We got some socks, some women's gear as well at chatsports.com/BearsGreen. Check the comments, check the description. We've got all kinds of stuff for you guys when it comes to Bears St. Patty's Day gear. So go ahead and make sure you take advantage of those deals today at chatsports.com/BearsGreen. Let's take a look at my top 3 quarterbacks the Bears could trade for here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. At number 3, let's go to one Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Now, I'm basing this order on what I would like the most, and I settle at Prescott at number 3. We'll get to 2 and 1 shortly. It's a long shot, a very big long shot, but what if the Cowboys get to March 9th, they tag Dak Prescott, and they get to May, June, July, still can't get a long-term deal? Well, then at that point, they're probably looking ahead saying, how are we going to keep this guy long-term? Because we've tagged him twice now, and the tag next year is too much money. So maybe at that point, Jerry, Stephen Jones say, hey, maybe we just trade Dak and get as much as we can for him and go in a different direction. And make no mistake, assuming Dak comes back fully healthy, did have the bad ankle injury last year, this is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. Dak Prescott is really good. He's under the age of 30. He can throw. Hopefully the mobility is what we expect it to be. And he could be a really good fit in Chicago. I don't see it happening. I don't see the Cowboys letting him go this year, but I think there's a glimmer of opportunity depending on how a couple of dominoes fall over the next couple of months. So this is the trade idea I put together. Dak Prescott to the Bears for 2 first-round picks, including number 20 this year, a second-round pick, and Kyle Fuller. Secondary been a big issue for the Cowboys in recent years. Now, maybe they'd prefer 3 first-round picks instead of Fuller, which I'd probably be okay with that as well, but thought I'd mix it up here. We'll throw Kyle Fuller in on this trade. So how many first-round picks do you guys think Dak Prescott is worth? Go ahead and spam the comments. I want to hear it from you guys. How many firsts would you trade for Dak Prescott? I think you could talk me into 3. I wouldn't go into the 4 range, but I think you could talk me into 3. Let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and comment below. Number 2 on my Bears quarterback trade targets, Russell Wilson, the hot name in recent days around the Chicago Bears and really around the NFL. The Bears were one of the 4 teams that Wilson's camp mentioned as a preferred trade destination if he gets dealt. Now, he says he'd rather return to Seattle. That is the hope, but there's frustrations with how the offense evolved last season with Brian Schottenheimer being gone, the uncertainty of what the offense could look like in 2021 in Seattle, and you got to explore this opportunity if you are the Chicago Bears. Russell Wilson would instantly make Chicago big-time contenders. I think Super Bowl contenders, honestly. If you bring back most of this defense, if Allen Robinson is in the fold, you got Russell Wilson too, with David Montgomery running the ball. Where's your weakness? Maybe offensive line, but then all you have to focus on is getting a tackle, and you're good to go. So I love the idea of getting Russell Wilson. We'll see where Seattle lands, what their intentions are. That's a bit unclear at this point in time. Now, my trade idea on this one is Russell Wilson and a 4th to Chicago for the next 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick this year, and Nick Foles. In this scenario, maybe they don't want Nick Foles, but we'll leave that up to Seattle on this one. But on this trade proposal, you keep your 2nd-round pick this year, and you can still draft a tackle if you are Ryan Pace, which I think would be a win-win for the Chicago Bears. And at number 1, no change, and I'm not going to change until he's off the market, Deshaun Watson. He is the guy to go get because when you factor in talent, ability, production, and age, this is the quarterback that everybody should want. Any quarterback-needy team should be doing everything they can to get Deshaun Watson because how many 25-year-old superstar quarterbacks have ever been available in the history of the NFL? 0. You got an example? You tell me in the comments. I've never seen it. If you can get this guy to Chicago, you've got your quarterback for the next 12 years. That's not an exaggeration, assuming you don't screw things up like the Houston Texans did. Great season last year. We know he can throw. We know he can run. This is one of the top 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks in the NFL already, and he probably hasn't reached his peak yet. He's only 25. That's what's crazy about Deshaun Watson potentially being available via trade. Now, the Texans can play hardball as long as they want, but Watson recently met with David Culley, their new head coach, and said, hey, I'm going to respect you and meet you in person, but my intentions haven't changed. I have no plans of playing with the Houston Texans ever again, and I think at some point they're going to have to budge. So here's my trade idea. It's a big one, but I think it's definitely worth it. Deshaun Watson for 3 first-round picks, a 2nd-round pick, and Roquan Smith. The Texans are going to want a young stud as a part of a trade in Deshaun Watson. Roquan Smith probably fits the bill of that better than anyone on this Bears defense unless they want Jalen Johnson, the rookie corner who was excellent last year. So it's a lot, but at the end of the day, if you can get Deshaun Watson, I think it's worth it. So pick a quarterback. These are the 2 names that have been circulating recently. Type RW for Russell Wilson. Type DW for Deshaun Watson. Let's hear it from you guys in the comments. We'll give some shout-outs here on this one here. And remember, coming up here in just, a couple of minutes, Brett, we've got Ryan Pace. Scheduled for 3 o'clock Central Time. You know how these things go. That could easily mean 3:05, 3:10. Hopefully they're on time, but we will see. DW from Acidic, he's rolling with Deshaun Watson. Someone says not Roquan. I get it. It's a big player to give up, but you're telling me keeping or letting go of Roquan Smith is the deciding factor if you want Deshaun Watson? No way. No way. I would give him up in a heartbeat for Deshaun Watson. CR says Deshaun Watson. Russell Wilson from Jesus. Josh says Russell Wilson. Donald says Deshaun Watson. Sirius Jones says Russell Wilson. Come on, Pace, fix your mess. Nick says Russell Wilson. John says Russell Wilson. Russ would be easier. That's probably true. That's probably true. And look, if the Bears key in on Russell Wilson and go get him, I'm not going to be the guy who complains, oh, you should have gotten Deshaun Watson. No, that's a hell of a job if you pull that off. So let me know, RW or DW. Now, we are going to have some live mailbag time later on, but if you super chat, we'll get you on the show as soon as possible. Do you think Allen Robinson will stay if we get a good quarterback? I'd like to think so. Either way, it's somewhat out of his control. The Bears can just tag him. Now, maybe he won't report. We'll see. But you can't tell me if the Bears traded for a legit quarterback and then circled back to A-Rob and we're like, hey, look, we wanted to figure out quarterback first. Can we renegotiate? Can we reset the talks here? Allen Robinson seems like the type of guy that he would certainly entertain that. So, yeah, I think if the Bears get a good quarterback, he would definitely get back on board if both sides approach it the right way. So coming up, we've already hit our quarterback trade targets, but we still have a lot to go. Ryan Pace press conference should be starting in the next, any time here. We'll see what happens on that. We'll do a couple of live mailbags. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat like our friend just did there. Matt Nagy's presser will take place at 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern time. We will get to that later on in the show as well. And then we'll wrap it up by going through kind of the top takeaways from the press conferences from today. That'll be, 4:30, 4:45. We'll see how long Nagy's presser takes, but that's kind of the next 92 hours on this one. 90 minutes, 2 hours, not 92 hours. I'm not staying live for 4 days. Not going to happen, but lots to come up on today's show. Also, help us out. Like the video if you love the Bears and if you love what we do here on Chicago Bears Now. We got 805 people watching live, over 110 likes already. Those are good numbers, but let's amp it up. Can we double it? Can we get to 250 before Ryan Pace's press conference starts at 3 o'clock? I think we can. I'm being told that the presser is going to start shortly, so we will get to that in just a moment here. But let's get to 250 likes. We're at 152 right now as the Bears are getting ready to go here in just a moment. 177, we're closing in on 200 here. Reminder, this is what the docket looks like if you're just joining us. We got Pace's presser, Nagy's is coming up in about an hour. We'll fill some time with some live Q&A there, so use hashtag Bears or Super Chat. And then my press conference takeaways at the end of the show, so stay tuned for all of that. 200 likes, we need 50 more, and then we will get going on today's show. So stay tuned shortly. 210, we need 40 more. 38 more likes. Remember, hashtag Bears or Super Chat for today's live Q&A. 226 likes now. We'll get to this Super Chat real quick from Father Clayton. That trade for Watson, but Hicks instead of Smith. If the Texans will take an older player, I'm down, but I just don't think that is super likely. They're going to want a young star type of player. Akeem Hicks is still good, but he's not exactly, young. He's over the age of 30. So appreciate the Super Chat, Father Clayton. If you guys want to get on the show, easiest way is to Super Chat. Second easiest way is to use hashtag Bears on in the comment section, and we will get to those as soon as we can. So stay tuned. We're going to join Ryan Pace shortly as they're getting set up there in Chicago. Live Q&A, like I mentioned. Matt Nagy's presser will take place in about an hour, and then I will go through my press conference takeaways. Hopefully these pressers are better than the season-ending ones with Ted Phillips and the McCaskies, because that was a disgrace on that front. So stay tuned because we have a jam-packed show. We did hit 250 likes. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. So appreciate you guys. Go ahead and like the video if you haven't already. Someone says don't trade Khalil Mack. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather not trade Khalil Mack. Okay, I'm being told that Ryan Pace is up at the podium, so we're going to shift gears to him, and then we will be back with some live Q&A. So here's Ryan Pace. We will hear from Matt Nagy coming up at 4 o'clock, unless the Bears announce a change there, but that it was on the schedule, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we'll answer some questions, and want to remind you guys, get subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. A lot of new folks in the live chat today for Pace and Nagy's press conference. So if you're not familiar with what we do, we cover the latest Bears news and rumors, daily videos for you guys, including live shows every single Tuesday. If you love the Bears, we're the channel for you. It's youtube.com/Bears Now. Just hit that big red button and subscribe, and also turn on those notifications so you never ever miss a video here on the channel. All right, a lot to still get to here in just a moment. We'll answer some of your questions. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get on the show. Matt Nagy coming up in about 35 or 40 minutes, so we will get to his press conference in just a bit. And then at the end of it all, we'll react to both Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Pace, just some initial quick thoughts. somewhat non-committal. Get your questions in, hashtag Bears or Super Chat. Look, we didn't expect him to give up a lot in the quarterback search, right? This is what he said 2 months ago. Everything's on the table at quarterback. That's what he's saying now. He was non-committal on if he was willing to make a big move this offseason, saying, look, if something gets presented to us that we like, we will certainly consider that. But overall, things you would expect. Allen Robinson, again, non-committal. I think they're going to tag him. I think they're just trying to be nice, and they're not just going to publicly say, yep, A-Rob, you are getting tagged, because that's just not a good PR move. So, not a ton of new info. No surgery for Jalen Johnson and Khalil Mack. I think that's something notable. The Bears media did not ask Ryan Pace if Roquan Smith if they were going to opt into his fifth-year option. I wish someone would have asked that. Maybe they'll ask Matt Nagy, but that's not really his department, as it's not his job to get contracts in line. So those are some initial thoughts. We'll dive deeper later on after Nagy's press conference. In the meantime, live Q&A, so use hashtag Bears or Super Chat, and we will answer your questions. What are you saying, Producer Brett? In the way? Okay, we're trying to getting things out of the way. People are throwing stuff at me. It's all good. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We'll answer as many questions as we can. It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at HGramNFL. If we don't get to your questions now, you can tweet them at me. Again, right there, at HGramNFL. Let's start with Mr. Nobody. You are always somebody here on Chicago Bears Now. Hey, it's me again. Cut Javon Wims and Anthony Miller. I'm down. And trade Cohen and a fifth-round pick for Jamison Crowder. And I hope we re-sign Cordell Patterson. He's one of my favorite players. I'm cool with cutting Wims and Miller. I think they'll keep at least one of those guys, though. I don't care about Jamison Crowder. I'd rather keep Cohen over Crowder. And I'm with you. Cordell Patterson, culture guy, plays GM on Twitter. Good guy to have around in Chicago. I'd like to bring him back as well. Frosty Games, hashtag Bears, Wilson or Watson? Well, first of all, you guys can answer, and I'll give my thoughts as well. RW for Russell Wilson, DW for Deshaun Watson. I would prefer Watson, but if they get Wilson, I'm going to be doing jumping jacks. Like, you need a franchise quarterback either way. I'd rather have the guy who's 7 years younger and is still ascending as a player, but you know what? You can't go wrong. So get your votes in. DW for Deshaun, RW for Russ. I'm good either way. Arrigo Munger, trade idea. Russell Wilson, Seahawks get 3 firsts, Kyle Fuller and Bobby Massey. They get their DB and OT. It's a win-win trade. They don't want Bobby Massey. That's number one. 3 firsts and Fuller, though, that's not bad value. I just don't think Massey adds anything to the trade. Like, he's a below-average right tackle. Those guys are everywhere. You can find those just about anywhere. Christopher Seahack, top 3 wide receivers to get in the draft if we draft one. I'll be realistic, so I'm not going to be like Devontae Smith because he's going to be gone. How about Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall, and maybe Rondale Moore? That's a little rich in round 1, but those are guys you could actually get at number 20. You're not going to get a Devontae Smith, a Jamar Chase, a Jalen Waddle, unless Waddle has major medical concerns we don't know about. But Bateman would probably be my top guy there. Eddie Fleming, Bears. I feel like people don't value a franchise quarterback like people should. I would be willing to give up 3 firsts, Kyle Fuller, and Hicks. Exactly, right? Like, I get the blowback of, you would trade Roquan Smith in a Deshaun Watson trade? Yes. I mean, come on. He's a linebacker. You have to be willing to do things like that. If you're going to trade for a franchise quarterback, I'm with you. I would trade 3 firsts for Fuller and Hicks for Wilson or Watson. Like, it's a franchise quarterback. That's what they cost. They cost a ton of money, especially the premier ones, which is what Watson and Wilson are. If you lose a defensive starter, it's not the end of the world because you're going to score a lot more points on offense, and you'll more than make up for it. Jonah Gonzalez, why do you think Russell Wilson wants to come to the Bears? There's some chatter that think about it this way. Now, this is some chatter. He went to Wisconsin, my producer tells me. That's not why. I think he would like the idea of, hey, I could be the savior at quarterback for Chicago. That's appealing. You have to admit, if you can be the guy that brings the Bears back to the promised land, he's instantly, if Russell Wilson wins a Super Bowl in Chicago, he's the best quarterback in franchise history. already, even if he only plays a couple years in Chicago. So that's appealing. The city of Chicago is a passionate fan base for the Bears. I think there's appealing things about it. Now, there's question marks in terms of franchise, how the team is built right now with the coaching staff, the GM, and some roster questions. But I think those are your selling points there. Hey, I can be the savior of the Chicago Bears, an original franchise in the National Football League. Now, what's your favorite NBA team? I'm curious what you guys think on this one. I'm sure most of you guys are Bulls fans, but maybe we have some fans of some other teams as well. Let's hear it from you guys. Favorite NBA team out there? Bulls, playing good ball. I'm a big Zach LaVine guy. I like watching him play. Let me know what your favorite NBA team, and if you want to make some money either betting on or against your team, depending on how good or bad it is, you can do it with Bet Rivers. Go to chatsports.com/betil or chatsports.com/betin, depending on if you're in Illinois or in Indiana. You can place a bet if you're within one of those two state lines. If you're a big Bulls fan, hey, Bulls are hot right now. Go bet on Chicago to win their upcoming matchups. There's money to be made. You can also do like futures NFL bets, NFC North champions, and Super Bowl champs, all those type of things as well. No combine prop bets this year because we don't have a combine, but there's still a lot of different stuff you can make some money at with Bet Rivers. They'll get you a 100% deposit match when you go to chatsports.com/betin or chatsports.com/betil. Make some money today. Johnny Scraps with Buster Screen cut. Could Kyle Fuller be traded or released next to save more cap space? I'm surprised this wasn't a bigger talking point during Ryan Pace's presser on Tuesday, but I think Screen could be the first domino. Like, I think Kyle Fuller likely won't get cut, even though it would save $14 million. I do think he could get traded, especially if it's for one of these quarterbacks that could come back to the Bears via trade. Now, good player. He's a kind of a low-end number one corner. He's not an elite number one, but he is a number one, I would say, at this point. Final year of his deal, so Bears can save $14 million if they move him out or if they cut him, so I definitely think that could be a possibility, and especially if they're feeling good about Jalen Johnson and his progression, who I actually thought played better in coverage than Fuller at times last year. If you feel like, hey, this could be a number one corner, you could trade Fuller / cut him. Jalen Johnson's your number one guy, and then maybe you draft a number two corner, sign somebody in free agency for cheaper than Fuller. That could be an option. I'm not advocating for a Kyle Fuller trade. I'm not advocating to release him, but just know that it's possible considering the salary cap situation for 2021 is a little bit uncertain, and the Bears have a lot of money allotted to several players. Cutting or trading Kyle Fuller is an area where you can trim some fat off. Will Kyle Fuller be here in 2021? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'll put it like 60-65% yes. I still think it's more likely he is than he isn't, but don't be surprised if he's not on the roster. Go ahead and get your votes in. Mikhail Davidson, if Roquan is traded, who is a viable replacement in the draft? Well, number one, you're not going to replace Roquan with one guy, especially a rookie. Now, like guys in round one, like, Micah Parsons is a name, but you're probably not having a first-round pick if you trade Roquan, because that probably means he was a part of a blockbuster trade for a quarterback. So in this scenario, you're sacrificing some production at the linebacker position. You're hoping Danny Trevathan picks up where he left off in the second half of last year, can be that signal caller linebacker once again like he was a couple of years ago. I thought he played really well the second half of last year. He struggled in the first half. And then you patchwork your number two linebacker. Maybe you sign a guy, maybe you draft someone in the middle rounds of the draft to be your number two off-ball linebacker. We'll see, but Roquan will only get traded if it's for a quarterback, in my opinion, because he's an elite player who's still on his rookie contract. A.K.A. Chicago, 2 firsts for Derek Carr. He might not be elite, but he is good. It's all we need. Doubt they trade him, though. That last sentence is where I'm at. I just don't think they're going to trade him. If you watched our Bears trade targets video, I didn't put Carr in my top 6 guys because I don't really think he's available. Things can change. What's true today may not be true tomorrow. It's a fluid league, especially in the NFL, but, Mariota's the available quarterback for the Raiders. They're looking to move him. I don't want him, but he's the guy you could go get for pretty cheap. I don't think Carr's available, guys. If reports come out that changes, we'll talk about it, but I just don't view that as a possible solution. Chris Bernal, favorite moment from the 2020 season that gives you hope for the future. I mean, you beat the Bucs. They won the Super Bowl. Was that a fluke? Maybe. Brady and that offense weren't nearly in sync at that point. Honestly, I know they lost 21-9 in the playoff game. If they do a couple things smarter, they're in that game with the Saints. If Javon Wims doesn't drop the ball in the trick play, you're probably up at halftime. I thought the defense played really well in that game. In general, I think the defense still gives you hope that if you can get the right quarterback in there, the defense will play better because it won't be on the field as much. And I think you've got pieces in place. I thought Ryan Pace was actually right when he said we have a playoff-ready roster. You just need the quarterback. That's the key. It doesn't matter about the rest of your roster if you don't have a quarterback. So if you can figure that out, this team can contend. Alan McChristian, trade up for Zach Wilson. I mean, it's going to cost a lot. I think there's a pretty decent chance the Jets are going to take him at number 2. It's going to cost you 3 first-round picks. So if you want to do that, then go for it. Jeff Washer, do you take a flyer on Darnold or Minshew? Darnold. Guys, I know some of you guys have sent me, Minshew's QBR in the fourth quarter and all these stats that don't really add up to anything. Minshew is a fun player. He has outkicked he's already done more in his career than 99% of quarterbacks taken in the 6th round. I'm not bagging on Minshew. I like the guy. I think he'll be in the NFL for probably 10 or 12 years as a high-quality backup. Maybe he has a Ryan Fitzpatrick type of career. But if you think he's going to come in here and be like, a 10-win quarterback, I just think you're going to be disappointed. Darnold at least has the background of being a top 5 pick. He's got the physical traits. Now, can he prove to be that guy? I don't know, but I'd rather take a chance there. Eamon Elias, Fuller, Eddie Goldman, and Akeem Hicks, and 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson and Blitz Boy. Tom, who's Blitz Boy for the Seahawks? Jamal Adams. Okay, I was Blitz Boy. They're not trading Russ and Adams to the Bears. I mean, come on, that's not going to happen. I like the Blitz Boy reference though. That's a good one. The Bears broadcast. Would it be possible to agree with a deal for Wilson with Seattle and draft whatever player they want with our first this year and send 2 future ones so they suffer less of a cap hit? They don't really do that in the NFL. That's more of an NBA play of, hey, pick this player here at number 7 and then trade him to us. That doesn't really happen in the NFL. So, no, I don't think that would happen. Who do you guys trust more, Matt Nagy or Ryan Pace? If you're watching live, the poll is updated. We've got 1,200 votes, and 76% of you guys are typing MN because you trust Matt Nagy more. So let me know, MN or RP. We'll get some shout-outs. Jeff is going with Matt Nagy. Nathan, Matt Nagy. I haven't seen a Ryan Pace yet. Feel free to answer on the poll if you haven't already. Almost 1,200 votes. There's a Ryan Pace from Christaki? Okay. MN from a.k.a. Chicago. Neither from Craig. That's certainly an acceptable answer as well. Brett, you'll find this funny. Someone typed, Super Chat, Fields or Wilson, trying to beat the system there. Doesn't work like that, especially when you're not using hashtag Bears. We'll never even see that question. MN from Laker Nation. Jose is going with Ryan Pace. So is 1776. There's a Super Chat from Colleen Scott. We'll answer those in a moment. We're going to get into some more questions in just a minute. Checking my time here. We're about 22 minutes away from Matt Nagy's presser. We've already heard Ryan Pace's just about ended about 15 minutes ago, so we'll get back into Nagy coming up at 4 o'clock. But in the meantime, we'll answer some more of your questions just in a moment. Who's already subscribed? Who's already subbed to the channel? Type S if you are one of those. Give me an S in the comments. Let's see. I know we're closing in on 23K. I'm going to get an updated number here. Producer Brett, if you'll allow me just a moment. We've got, let's see, 22,939. Can we get to 23K on today's live show? We're 61 away. Hey, be that guy. You could be 23K for Michael Jordan. How many people can say that? Only one of you guys can say that. Do it for MJ. Type S if you've already subbed, and I'll get you a shout-out. But if you haven't, hey, you could be number 23,000. Great opportunity. What does it get you? it gets you an invisible gold medal. B Ryan says S, AKA says S. Really, it gets you more Bears videos, so that's a good thing. Wiley says S. Arrigo says S. Taki, Diley. Let's see here. Jamie, Corbin, Craig. I'll get an update here. Let's see if we've gotten a few more here. It's youtube.com/Bears Now. We're less than 50 away. 49 subs away. 22,951. I think we can hit 23K. Game Central, appreciate the super. We'll get to that in just a moment. No question. If you have a question, feel free to ask. Elias says he is subbed. Wiley is subbed. Brian, loss of Skirty. Donald Phillips. Lots of new subs today. Appreciate you guys. We will get to Matt Nagy's press conference coming up at 4 o'clock, so in just about 20 minutes. 44 subs away. If you haven't subbed yet, we'll check this number here in about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll re-hit this, and appreciate everybody who's already subscribed to Chicago Bears Now. You're watching Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. We got some live Q&A for you guys, so use #Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. We'll go ahead and kick things off with a super chat from Colleen Scott. Appreciate the $5. #Bears, okay, what would be cheaper, trading up to number 4 in the draft or trading for Russell Wilson? Love the show, by the way. It's close. I think number 4, I don't know, actually. I think trading up to number 4 is still going to cost you 3. I mean, it's going to cost you 20 this year and probably 2 more. If it's similar at all, wouldn't you rather just trade for Russell Wilson? You know what he is. Like, who knows what Trey Lance is going to be or Justin Fields? If it's going to cost something similar, yeah, and the Falcons, why would they want to drop all the way to 20? So I don't think that really works for either party. X-Man 6818, team #sign AR, so am I. But if the Bears tag and trade AR for a first, what QB can we get by trading away both firsts this year? Well, you can move up in the draft. That gives you more ammo to move up. Maybe you move up into the top 10, take a Trey Lance, take a Mac Jones, depending on where Jones falls. There's a lot of momentum for Mac Jones right now. Seen a lot of mocks have him in the top 10. Or that's an extra first to flip for a quarterback. Here's the thing, though. If you're Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, are you approving a trade to the Bears if Allen Robinson isn't in the picture? I don't think Deshaun is, and I probably don't think Wilson is either. I think he would back off at that point. So that's the problem. Allen Robinson has to be a part of the process if you were going to trade for a quarterback, especially one who has a no-trade clause. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Now, turn on your notifications. Join the Noti gang here on Chicago Bears Now, because subscribing, yeah, it's cool, but if you hit that bell button after you subscribe, you're never going to miss a video. So here's how you do it. You go to the settings app on your phone, scroll down, type YouTube. You can screenshot this right now so you don't forget. Tap the notifications, and then turn on allow notifications. That means anytime we go live or we post a video, you're going to get a little noti on your phone saying Bears Now, and then the title of the video, and you guys can click and enjoy. So turn on those notifications. And hey, a little incentive to do so is, hey, we got the new thing we're launching here at Bears Now, the First Comment Club. You're not going to be the first person who comments on a video if you don't have notifications turned on. And I know it's competitive in those YouTube streets. These last 5 videos we've posted, these have been the first commenters on each of those videos. We did 2 videos on March 1st. Andrew, congrats to you and Daniel for being the the first commenters on those. Kenny Alvarez was the first comment on February 28th. Joel Fernandez on February 27th. Then Matthew back on February 26th. We're going to start shouting you guys out if you are the first comment. We'll kind of update this, once or twice a week. Appreciate you guys. Be a part of that First Comment Club. Your only chance, really, you got to have those notifications turned on. So click that bell and select all notifications. Funkbringer with the super chat. #Bears Graham for GM. I appreciate it. Keep up the great work. We're trying here. We're trying to keep Allen Robinson and get a franchise quarterback, and we're not going to give up until we do. Type or boo Ryan Pace if you want to in the comments. We'll certainly approve that. We're definitely booing Don. Detroit in the building. Hey, you know what? It's all fun in the NFC North. Mitchell Trubisky owns you, so keep that in mind. B. Ryan Gaming, cut the beard if we get Watson and Wilson. I'll tell you what. Should that be the thing? I don't shave until the Bears get a quarterback? That could be a while. No shave until the Bears get a quarterback? Are we committing to that? I'll tell you what. If they get Watson or Wilson, we'll shave live on air. I will do that. I'm kind of liking this idea of not shaving until any QB decision is made. That could be a couple months. We'll see. We'll see. My producer Brett's not liking that idea. We'll have to revisit that. But if they get Wilson or Watson, yeah, we'll shave on air. How about that? Thomas Lordo, Bears in a tough spot. GM and coach on last leg makes notable signings difficult. Must sign or trade for a QB because rookie doesn't save jobs. Yeah, that's what we've talked about. You know, do you want to put your career on the line for an unknown rookie quarterback? I'd do it for Trevor Lawrence, but you're not getting him. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think draft is kind of a secondary option right now. You know, Pace kind of held his cards close to the vest during his presser on Tuesday saying, hey, you know, all options are available, free agency, draft, a trade. They're focusing on trades. Trust me on that. They want a proven starter in the National Football League because he and Matt Nagy know that if things don't go well this year, then, yeah, they're probably out of a job. Will the Bears make the playoffs next season? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I think if they get a quarterback, they're pretty much a lock because I think their roster's in good shape. But if they have, I'll say this. If Nick Foles is the quarterback, they're not making the playoffs. I'll just leave it at that. Tacky Madman, trade up for Justin Fields. You know, if Fields or Lance starts to slide, I wonder if at that point the Bears consider it if they haven't finalized quarterback. Like, say pick 8 comes and goes with the Panthers select, and Fields and Lance are still on the board somehow. I don't think that's going to happen, but if that's the case, that could change your mindset if you are the Bears. And look, we've seen weird things happen on draft night, so you never know. Anthony O. Alex Smith to the Bears. Nick Foles, you have Nick Foles. Like, if you want another bridge quarterback, go get Alex Smith, but you have a high-quality backup. Alex Smith, good backup, but not a starter at this point. Ronald Johnson, with Tom Herman on board, could the Bears draft Sam Ehlinger? Look, day 3, sure. I'm fine with Sam Ehlinger in the 5th round or later. I don't think I would do it in the first 4 rounds. He's got good intangibles. I don't think he throws the ball particularly well, especially down the field. The accuracy starts to wane on him. But, you know, could he be a backup quarterback / use him situationally occasionally type of guy? Maybe. I don't think he's going to be Taysom Hill. He doesn't run that well. But he's a winning guy. He's a team guy. I think someone will take a chance on him because he's got good intangibles, and I'd be fine with trying to groom him as a backup. Let's be very clear. And obviously, the relationship there is with Tom Herman. How good of a relationship is it? Who actually knows? Now, should the Bears draft a quarterback, that's a different story. Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think the answer almost should always be yes, even if you have a quarterback. The Patriots did that for years, and then they would just trade him for second-round picks. So, yeah, I'll still type my Y for yes. Even if quarterback is figured out, I think you take someone on day 3. Jamal Hoops, Des Bryant, eye emoji. I mean, Tom Downey's fired up about that one. But number 4 receiver, red zone guy, he's probably better than Javon Wims. So, you know, okay. Rob Pickior. That's probably not pronounced correctly. We won't draft Lance. He is a project that is going to take time, and Pace don't have time for Lance to be ready. Drafting Lance is like drafting Trubisky. It could work well, or it could end up like Trubisky. Like, the physical tools are there, the ability's there, good runner, strong arm. But, yeah, like, he's probably not going to be a winning quarterback as a rookie. So I tend to agree. I don't think that's super likely. Never miss a video because all you got to do, 2 things. 1, subscribe if you haven't already. And 2, turn on those notifications. Hit that noti bell and select all, and you will never, ever miss a video. We're closing in on 23,000 subscribers, just like 30 or 40 away. So help us out by hitting that big red button. And to never miss a video, go ahead and turn on that notification bell. AKA Chicago, do you see Cam Newton as a bridge quarterback, not just for the Bears, but for any team with a rookie? I mean, yeah, he's in that bridge category. I think he, along with like a Nick Foles, are in similar categories. Would I rather have Cam? Probably, but I don't really have interest in having him on Chicago. I'll put it this way. Not a single team out of the 32 in the NFL view Cam Newton as a long-term solution. 1 year, maybe, but long-term, no. John Hansen, who is your favorite free agent target on both sides of the ball? Allen Robinson. If it's not a Bears free agent, I'll go to Kenny Golladay. I think he's a beast when healthy, so I'll go with him on offense. On defense, oh man, I'm trying to think of like the top defensive free agent guys that are out there. Tom, give me a top free agent defensive player. Who's out there? That's a good one. Leonard Williams as well. Dalvin Tomlinson. The thing is, the Bears don't have a glaring need on defense. They need maybe a number 2 safety next to Eddie Jackson. I'll be curious to see what they do there. But offensively, tons of receiver talent this year. Mr. Winning Tube. Hope you're winning. Sign Fitz to teach you how to grow a beard. Dude, I've taught myself there. Don't even troll me on that one. It gets into Fitz territory from time to time, but we're not there yet. Missy Van Vels, where does Trubisky go? If I'm Mitchell Trubisky, I'm trying to go to a situation that Ryan Tannehill ended up in a couple years ago, going to a team that has a quarterback, but it's not a firm situation, like someone who's entering the last year of a deal. Or how about San Francisco? Jimmy G flames out, Trubisky gets a chance on a QB-friendly team. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think something like that makes a lot of sense. Kadarius Toney in the second round, I don't think he falls to round 2. Even if he does, I doubt he's there at 52. He's a fringe round 1, round 2 guy. I'd take him at 20 if I needed a receiver, but I think the Bears are going to have bigger needs. Matt Eck, what if Trayvon Merrick is there in the second round? Safety out of TCU, my alma mater, so I've watched him a lot. I think at 52, that's great value. 20 is probably too rich for him. I think he's a late round 1, early round 2 type of value guy. He can play coverage. He can tackle pretty well, turnover creator. If he's there at 52, he's kind of more of a free safety, but you just figure it out with him and Eddie Jackson. It worked fairly well with Tayshaun Gibson, and hopefully Eddie Jackson bounces back in 2021. Ducky is yes 11. Are there any notable tackles coming into free agency, and should we go after one? Trent Williams is the big name. I think he's going to cost too much. I would focus on the draft. Even if you trade for a quarterback, if you still have your second-round pick, I think you can get a serviceable right tackle who's going to be cheaper than Bobby Massey. So I think draft is more likely for tackle. But yeah, I think you got to get a right tackle, no doubt. Shaquille McNair, how likely is this Rush trade? Look, it's still not super likely. Like, let's scale back. Like, the rumors are circulating, and there's some chatter, and there's some legs to these things. But the trade for a franchise quarterback, it's still like in the one smoke and Jay category. Like, it's a long shot. There's a chance it could happen, but it's not very likely by any means because teams aren't going to trade franchise quarterbacks just to do it. You're going to have to overwhelm them. Dr. Funky, if the Eagles draft a quarterback, and if we can't get Watson or Russ, should we get Jalen Hurts? Not opposed. If you're Matt Nagy or Ryan Pace, though, like if you enter this season, hey, Jalen Hurts is the guy, your chances are you're probably going to be out of a job because he's probably not ready to win a bunch of games yet. Noah Carrera, can the Bears even afford A-Rob and then sign someone like Wilson or Watson? We keep going over this. The answer is yes. You can structure A-Rob's contract by backloading it. Deshaun Watson's cap hit for next year is $10.5 million. That's not that much. That's $4 million more than Nick Foles. Like, not a big difference there. Wilson's less than $20 million for next year. So you can figure it out. They've already cut Buster Screen. You can cut some other guys as well. That's not an issue. It's just a matter of how motivated are you and who are you willing to part ways with to keep a guy like Allen Robinson. Zev, cut Leno and Massey, move Alex Bars to tackle and still draft the tackle at 20. That's also possible. I think you could roll with Alex Bars at right tackle. I really do. Would I prefer that? Probably not. I'd rather have him as my swing guard tackle because he can play both. He can be your number 6 offensive lineman, but you could get by there. That is a possibility. Now, coming up on Chicago Bears now, still some stuff to get into. Got about 5, 6, 7 minutes away from Matt Nagy's press conference, 4 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Eastern, so stay with us. We will listen to Matt, and then we will react to some of the big talking points from both Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, who already had his press conference just about 45 minutes ago. So we will react to all of that Appreciate you guys for sticking with us. We still got over 1,000 live, so that's very cool of you guys. Just about 1,000 live. So stay tuned. Lots to get into on the show. We did just get a super chat. We'll get into that in just a moment, but still a lot to get into on today's show, so stay tuned for that. Jamal, you know what? These might be some old. Yeah, these are some old ones. My YouTube feed's behind. If you want a super chat, we'll get to your question. We might have time for a couple more questions here as we await Matt Nagy here at 4 o'clock. But we'll kind of recap what Ryan Pace talked about earlier. I got my notes in front of me here. Couple of things. Well, I'll just categorize it. Number one, obviously everybody wants to know about quarterbacks. The Bears are keeping their cards very close to their vest, as they should. Look, did you expect Ryan Pace to take the podium and say, yeah, we've called the Texans? Like, no, they're not going to do that. That doesn't mean they haven't called. That doesn't mean they haven't called Seattle about Russell Wilson. That doesn't mean they weren't interested in Carson Wentz. There are some real possibilities that all those things are true, but they're not going to come out and say it publicly. That's just a fact. We'll get more on Pace's some Pace takeaways in a minute, but holy crap, Tom created another burner account, Harrison Graham's beard. If all else fails, do you think Ryan will get fired mid-season or wait till the end of the season? The way the McCaskies operate, it would have to be a disaster for them to fire Pace and or Nagy midseason. I'm talking like 1-6, 0-5. Like, it's going to have to be really, really bad. I think they are the guys for 2021. They'll probably coach out the year, and if they miss the playoffs or if they stumble into the playoffs like last year and lose in the first round, you'll probably have a new GM and head coach in 2022. But I appreciate the burner account there, Tom. We'll do some investigating here with the Bears Now PR team. We're going to put them on that right away. We'll try and figure that out. Get subscribed. Do it for MJ, baby. We're 30 subs away. 22,970 subscribers. I want it to happen live. I want it to happen right now before Matt Nagy's presser at 4 o'clock. So go ahead and hit that big red button. And type me or type S, either way, if you've already subbed, and I'll get you guys some shout-outs. I'm going to see if this number is updated here real quick. 22,970. All right, 971. We're 29 away. 29 subs away. Type S if you've already subbed, and I'll get you guys some shout-outs here. My thing's a little behind, so I'm going to refresh here on my feed. 29 subs away from 23,000. We could do it. Jordan won 6. We can get 30, right? Come on. Just how things work. Math. Elijah says he has subbed. Stoppage has subbed. Matt has subbed. Venixis has subbed. L2 Cloud, Corbin, Axel, King Jaffel, Julian Rishu, L2 Cloud, Stephen Thomas, a.k.a. Corey. Let's see here. Rishu, Lunar, Jason Williams, Game Central. A lot of you guys have subbed. If you haven't, the countdown to 23K has officially begun. If you haven't, here's why you should, because these are some of the videos we've done in the offseason alone, and we did videos all season as well. Bears cap cut candidates. You would have known that Buster Screen was a prime candidate to get cut had you subscribed and watched that video, because he was one of the names I talked about. We've done this video a couple of times. Top 10 updated quarterback options for the 2021 NFL season. You guys can check that out in all of our videos here on the channel. Subscribe. The link's below, youtube.com/BearsNow. Go to the videos tab, and you can find all these videos and a whole lot more. And there's a lot surrounding the quarterback position. So go ahead and check that out. Update, 9 away from 23,000. This is like the radio show where it's like, caller number 6 will get on the show. You have to try and time it right if you're going to be number 23,000. But I wouldn't wait any longer because we have 950 people in the live chat. So you better sub now if you want to be number 23,000. Hey, do it for MJ. If you're 2304, you know what? That's still a cool number as well. So go ahead and subscribe. Type S if you've subbed. We'll get a couple of shout-outs here. Matt Nagy will hop on the podium here in a couple of minutes. And by podium, I mean his Zoom office. And we will go to him live and then react to both press conferences. Pace's earlier, Nagy's now, all into one video. 22,999, Brett. 22. You better sub now if you're going to be number 23,000 because clock is a ticking. 22,999. Do it for MJ. Oh, there it is. 23,007. Do it for James Bond. 23,007. We hit 23K. Appreciate you guys. We're about, 14 months into this channel launch, 23,000. We'll take that. We're gonna keep growing this thing thanks to you guys. We did it for MJ. Hey, he wore number 45 as well, so we can do it for MJ again. It's just gonna take a little bit of time, but subscribe if you haven't. We have fun. Daily Chicago Bears videos, the latest news, rumors, special edition shows like this, like when Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace do split press conferences. We'll cover it all. Just make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We'll hit this super real quick, and then we'll go to Matt Nagy shortly. Thoughts on Mac Jones at number 20? Still waiting on Nagy, I'm being told. Also, if you had to have Wilson or Watson, who you taking? Still Watson. I would love Wilson, though. No problems there, but I would prefer Watson. He's younger, and I think you could argue he's already just as good, if not better. Thoughts on Mac Jones at 20? I love it at 20. I'm good with Matt Jones at 20. I'm seeing mock drafts where he's going top 10, though, and that feels a little rich for me. Now, maybe he ends up being a 15-year pro. I don't know. But he could also bust. So I don't know if I'm trading up that high for him. Would I trade up to like 15? Probably. I would love him at 20. If you don't have quarterback figured out and he's on the board at 20, you take him and you don't think twice. That's kind of how I feel about Mac Jones. What will the Bears do at quarterback? We'll get to that other super in just a second. Type T for trade, type S for sign, type D for draft. How will the Bears approach quarterback this off season? We'll get to Spider Super in just a second. Couple of shout outs first. Chris says S. Connor says S. Someone said ES8 Sports says I was 23,000. You know what? Well, you can claim it. That's what you do in life. If you claim it, it's just that's just how it works. So you're the one who gets it. Aldo says trade. Easton says trade. Rob says trade. Amena says sign. Sports says draft. Bit of a mix there. I'm seeing mostly trades, though, in the comments. I'd say it's like 85% trade right now. So type T for trade. Looks like Matt Nagy is late. He must have taken an afternoon siesta. Maybe he's evaluating quarterbacks. Who knows? We'll go to this super chat in the meantime. Spider Pig, Green Bay Bears fan here. That's not allowed, number one. Oh, you're saying you're a Bears fan in Green Bay. Is that what you're saying? Maybe that's what you're saying. Is Chicago really the team that an elite QB would want to play for at this stage? And if so, what reasons would they have? Some of the reasons I gave earlier were you could be the guy that brings Bears football all the way back. Number two, the Bears have never really had a true elite quarterback in their history. You could be that guy. That's appealing. Now, on the flip side, you got a coach and a GM on the hot seat. You've got a roster that's somewhat in flux, although I think it's a pretty win-now roster. You have a questionable offensive line, and you got drama around Allen Robinson. So those are some pros and cons if you're a quarterback wanting to take the Bears QB job or not. So coming up, Matt Nagy, he has appeared at the podium. We'll go to him shortly, and then when he's done, we'll react to him and Ryan Pace. So stay tuned. Matt Nagy coming up in just a moment. I'm being told right now, actually, here's Matt's video. If you love the Chicago Bears, who would have thought Ryan Pace is more entertaining than Matt Nagy? But that's kind of what you get. No surprise, right? Like, they're not going to give away too much. We'll give some of our key takeaways to the press conferences from today in just a moment. But like the video, how many likes are we up to? Got 442. We can get to 500 plus. Come on, hit that thumbs up icon. Let's hit 500 likes. Stay tuned because we're going to get into my takeaways of today's press conference from both Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. So don't go anywhere because we are going to cover that in just a moment. Like the video. Let's get to 500 plus. And coming up in just a second, press conference takeaways from both Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Welcome into Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. Grade today's press conferences from Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, A, B, C, D, or F. If you didn't watch it, we'll kind of give some of my top takeaways in just a second, so you can grade it after if you want. But A, B, C, D, or F, I'll go like C. I mean, not a lot of new information, but it was a little bit better than the season-ending one that included Ted Phillips and George McCaskey. Give it a C, C-. Nothing great, but a little bit of information was passed along. So get your grades in, and I'll get into my takeaways in just a moment. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. You can follow me on Twitter at HGrahamNFL. 4 key press conference takeaways from Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. We heard from Ryan Pace first, but we'll kind of collaborate all of it into one video here. Number one, the quarterbacks are obviously the discussion point that everybody wants to know and hear about. And let's just be clear. The Bears were not going to come out with their GM and head coach and be like, yeah, we've called the Texans about Deshaun Watson. That's not how things go. They're keeping their cards close to their vest. They're keeping their QB search private. A, because there's competitive advantage reasons, and B, they're just not gonna address other players on other teams. That's just not what they're going to do. They have a process. They're going through their process. I'm sure they've been evaluating every quarterback that is available out there on the open market. Now, Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky were mentioned specifically, especially from Matt Nagy, as far as, on-field things go. Talking about, we could have done some things better. When it comes to Nick Foles, he could have done some things better. He talked about the injuries that kind of piled up while Foles was out there. And we've mentioned that Nick Foles could be an option if a lot of other things fall through, because Nick Foles was at least on the roster for next season. He is under contract, so don't rule out the possibility of him being an option. Now, I think it's a long shot. I think ideally he's your backup quarterback, but he's your only quarterback under contract. Mitchell Trubisky was referred to as well in terms of, he kind of indirectly referred to as what are some things that I look at in quarterbacks and what they need to do well. And Nagy said, Mitch and Foles, they have their strengths, they have their weaknesses, as all quarterbacks do. But I thought Matt Nagy made one key point that really stood out to me. He talked about how important leadership was at the quarterback position. And obviously, of course, quarterback needs to be a leader, right? And he said every quarterback leads in different ways. But I think what he's saying is we need a quarterback that's going to come in here and grab this offense and run with it. And no disrespect to Nick Foles, no disrespect to Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not attacking their character or leadership abilities. Both of those guys have good attributes, but he's looking for that franchise quarterback, which is, of course, what the Bears are looking for, because the head coach and the GM are on the hot seat, and they need a quarterback if they want to win in 2021 and if they want to keep their job. So not a lot of new information. Rumors are going to continue to circulate, but trust me on this, the Bears are evaluating every single option that is out there, which is what Ryan Pace essentially said, saying everything is on the table. What will the Bears do at quarterback? We'll go ahead and make this the pinned comment on today's video. Type T for trade for one, type S for sign one in free agency. I think that's the least likely. Or type D for draft one. If you get hit with the ad break, go ahead and scroll on down and answer this question. Now, you probably just got hit with the ad break, but join the Noti Gang if you haven't already. First, you have to subscribe to do that, so you subscribe if you haven't already. Then click that notification bell and follow these steps. And the reason you do this is you get notified every time we post a video, and you never ever miss a video. Go to the settings app, scroll down, tap the YouTube icon, tap notifications, and then turn on allow notifications. That will pop up for you, and every time we post a video, you'll get a notification on your phone. Boom, click and watch today, and maybe, just maybe, you can join the first comment club, our most recent videos here. These are the 5 users or subscribers to the channel that have commented first. It's a competitive thing on YouTube. Your best chance is turning notifications on, because I guarantee you all these guys have their noties turned on, because we're getting 10, 20 comments within the first minute of the video being posted. Congrats to Andrew, Daniel, Kenny, Joel, and Matthew on that one. We'll continue to shout you guys out, but turn on those notifications. Be the first person to comment on our upcoming videos. Number 2 press conference takeaway. The Bears are tagging Allen Robinson. Now, they didn't come out and say that, and they're not going to, but Ryan Pace said, look, the franchise tag is at our disposal. We know that. That's something the NFL provides. And they kept using, the generic phrases like, we know how Allen Robinson feels about us. We know how we feel about him, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. They're going to tag him. I would be very, very surprised if they didn't. Now, Pace throughout we haven't made a firm decision on if we're going to use the franchise tag with A-Rob or not. I would put it at about 97%. I think they're going to tag Robinson, and we'll see what the response is from A-Rob, because to kind of tie into this, Ryan Pace did get asked about the salary cap situation. It's a challenging situation because he said they're anticipating the salary cap to be about 180, 185 million, which would be less than last year. Easiest way to work with that, just tag Allen Robinson and not worry about a long-term commitment. Now, I want to get a long-term deal done. I think Allen Robinson is worth it. I am definitely still team #sign AR, and that could still happen even after a tag. Keep this in mind. Get your #sign ARs in. You could tag Robinson, get quarterback figured out while you have more time, and then you could sign him later. You have until July. I can't remember the exact date, but you have 3 or 4 extra months after the tag window closes to still get a deal done with said player who ended up getting tagged. But I'll just say this right now with conviction, Allen Robinson will get tagged by March 9th, which is the deadline for NFL teams to tag players. I'd be floored if he wasn't. So what will happen with A-Rob? We'll let you guys vote. Type F for franchise tag, type C for he'll get a new contract. Both can't happen like I mentioned, but we'll just say by March 9th. I'm going to type my F for franchise tag. I think the Bears tag him, and they deal with whatever those consequences may be. So get your votes in, F for franchise tag or C for contract. Now, we've got some Chicago Bears gear available for you guys, St. Patty's edition, because the month of March is here, and you can get your green gear available at chatsports.com/bearsgreen. Tons of different styles on these shirts. You can get these custom ones also. You can put whatever number, whatever name you want on the back there. You can enter that information when you check out. Hey, we got gear for the ladies as well for any of you gals watching, or if you have a wife, a daughter, whatever, you can hook her up with some Bears St. Patty's gear. St. Patty's Day is a lot of fun, even if it's going to be a little bit different this year. Get your gear today at chatsports.com/bearsgreen. That link is in the comments. It's in the description. One more time, that's chatsports.com/bearsgreen. Number 3 press conference takeaway from Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. The Bears are very confident in this staff. Now, again, with a lot of these other takeaways, they're not going to come out there and be like, I don't feel great about that Sean Desai guy. But Matt Nagy did say he interviewed 9 defensive coordinator candidates, ultimately landed on Desai, spoke to his unbelievable connection, I believe was the term, with his players. He mentioned that with Sean Desai, and that's been something that players have really mentioned as well on Twitter after the hiring. You saw a lot of these players say, hey, we like the hire, that type of thing. And Nagy said that, talked about a lot of the coaches, said this is an ego-free staff, has a lot of respect for a guy like Mike Pettin, who will work under Sean Desai, really side by side as a former defensive coordinator and a head coach in the NFL. He talked about Tom Herman's role with the staff and potentially bringing more college looks to this offense, so we'll see what happens there. All things considered, from Pace and Nagy, they feel good about the coaching changes that took place this offseason. I like the move of Sean Desai when it happened. I like it now. I think it'll be a more aggressive and youthful style in today's NFL. So we will see what happens there, but they're confident. We'll just have to see what happens once the season rolls around. And last takeaway, and really not a lot here because I was surprised, and shout out to the Bears local media for not really asking this, or about Roquan Smith, by the way, about the 5th-year option. We won't really discuss that. Offensive line not really mentioned. I was surprised that there weren't a question of, here, I'll be a reporter guy. Hey, how are you going to address the tackle position? Pace or Nagy? I don't know. But still, you should ask the question, and it wasn't asked, which kind of annoyed me, but we've talked about it here on Chicago Bears Now. I think your interior is likely what it is on screen. Whitehair, Mustipher, Daniels, some combination of that. I think Mustipher will be your center, and I think Whitehair and Daniels will be your starting guards. But what about tackle? What about Charles Leno? What about Bobby Massey? They didn't really ask him about if any of those guys could get cut. Now, there was a kind of a loose question of, after releasing Buster Skrine of, hey, are you going to release more players because of the salary cap? And Pace said it's obviously a unique situation with the cap this year, but no offensive line related questions, at least specifically. So we don't really know anything more than we knew, 2 hours ago when it comes to this offensive line. I still think one of Charles Leno or Bobby Massey will likely get cut. I don't think it'll be both, but I think one will probably hit the road, and they will either draft a tackle or maybe Alex Bars slides out and plays right tackle in 2021 as he is an exclusive rights free agent. But not a lot of new discussion when it comes to the offensive line. We, of course, will continue to explore it here on Chicago Bears Now, but quarterback and O-line have been the two big position talking points this offseason, and quarterback was a big talking point at the presser, but offensive line wasn't. Speaking of players getting cut, we already saw Buster Screen hit the road. Name a player or players the Bears should cut. Let's hear it from you guys in the comment section. Name a player that you guys believe Chicago should cut this offseason. That's it. It's been a fun show. No loop today because all kinds of crazy stuff going on, so we're going to wrap things up here very, very quickly. Thanks to helping us hit 23,000 subs. You did it for MJ. We go live every Tuesday. For any new viewers today, if you're a big Bears fan, a normal live show is the latest news and rumors, a couple of mailbags, and some kind of another segment as well. Today it was quarterback trade targets. It's been a lot of quarterback stuff, but we're going to cover the hot topics surrounding the Chicago Bears all off-season long, so subscribe, turn on those notifications, and join us every single Tuesday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time. We had fun. I'm Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys joining me. We'll see you very, very soon here on this channel.